Good morning, everybody, and I am so glad you're here today. It's a beautiful spring morning here, although a little bit overcast, but it's so nice because the weather's been getting a lot warmer. And so all the great little things have been springing up. I'm so excited to have all of my crocuses, and I'm, looking forward to, hey, Julie, and I'm looking forward to, everything else coming up because spring is just such a hopeful time. Good morning, Sherry. And Ronnie's here too. Fabulous. So, today's topic is on, how, once we start to get a handle on dealing with big dramas. Hey, Kathy. On dealing with big dramas and being, flooded by what's going on, we actually have to come up with a plan for how to maintain and continue to become, more evolved and happier and more at peace. Hey, Christine, great to see you. Overall, once you get past these crisis points, once you get past, the being in a constant fight or flight, you really need to, it's time to start cultivating, a life that you want to have. And so, what tends to happen is we have a lot of negativity around us, a lot of people who are struggling with stresses and are struggling much worse than we are with stresses because we've got friends and, you and we've got these resources. Hey, Nicole, we've got resources of friends and family and, healthy eating ideas and, smart choices and some stability. But there's a lot of people out there that don't have that. They don't have those skills which have allowed us to stay, relatively successful in life. And so we tend to be surrounded by these people who they can't get out of that very negative mindset. They can't get out of that, that very dark place that they're in. And they feel the need to, throw it on everybody else around them. That's what, a lot of people would call toxic people. Mainly people who are unable, hey, Melanie, unable or they don't have the tools to manage their emotions. They've got all of these very difficult, dark emotions going on, and they can't manage them. And they feel out of control, and they don't know how to manage their thoughts or manage their food or their relationships in order to be in a great place. And you'll find out that a lot of us who, if you're watching this, you probably have some similarities to me. Those sorts of people end up in our lives because we have that stability. We have that ability to sort of monitor and maintain and find some semblance of balance amidst chaos. But the majority of people don't. And so we end up being this weird safe haven, and we end up actually attracting more people into our lives who have these issues, who have these problems with dealing with and processing through how they feel and what's going on in their lives. So if this is you, hey, Danny, if this is you, if you're finding yourself surrounded by a ton of negativity and desperately paddling like a duck, hey, Janae, nice to see you, desperately paddling like a duck to try to stay above water and not get pulled under into this very same space that we're seeing everywhere on Facebook and other social media and the news, and it's so oppressive. So, the tool that I use is something I've used for a very long time, and it's play. It's where you start to not only put more play into your life, but you start to look at a lot of things in life as a play. Yes, there's a difference. When we've got kids and kids, their brains haven't developed enough, they're in a different space. We're trying to nurture them and help them grow into human beings. But adults, on the other hand, they've got the same resources, they've got the same things available to them, the same freedoms and the same privileges, generally speaking, as we do. And so they also have the ability to eat healthier, to be in a better space, to change how they think. The information's out there, just like it's out there for us, for you and me. And it's there. They have these things available to them. And so when you start looking at people not with pity or not even with anger, but as the fact that they are competent, capable adults who can figure these things out, it starts to bring you to a more peaceful place. We start reacting less. Typically when we're surrounded by negativity, there's a part of us that says, well, that's not fair. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you behaving this way? Hey, Amanda, why are you treating people this way? Why are you saying these things? This is insane. Why would you be this sort of toxic human being? What's wrong with you? Generally speaking, when people are acting out, it's because they don't have these, they haven't put into their life these skills. No, we don't need to fix them, Kathy. Absolutely. There's no fixing. And in fact, when we're able to look at other people, these toxic people, as adults, it starts to give us a sense of peace. When we start to say, you know what, they've got these resources available to them. Hey, Lillian, they've got the same things available to them that I do. I've spent my life cultivating this. And if they would spend their life cultivating these same tools, they would be able to navigate this crazy world a little bit better too. So this is where the idea of play comes in. When you look at people as capable, functional human beings that may be going through an emotional drama, then you can look at the whole situation as if it's a play, as if they've got these tremendous fears which aren't based in reality. They've got these tremendous reactions to things which aren't real, And so when you can realize that they're acting out their own inner play and that they are okay, they will figure this out just like you did, it helps you stay much more grounded. Then it's not like, well, why do I deserve this? And why is this happening to me? And why would they treat me this way? And what's wrong with them? And why are they broken? They aren't broken. They're just acting out how they feel. So this also works in the opposite direction. They say when you suppress your emotions, you get sick, and you totally do, because emotions are chemicals and they can start to make you very toxic, physically toxic. So it's not good to suppress your emotions. So actually a lot of these toxic people, it's because they're detoxing themselves and toxifying everybody else around them, right? So they're taking all of their emotions, and instead of them getting sick, they're putting it on everybody else to try to get them sick. So a lot of these toxic people tend to be physically healthier because they are moving that energy. And what gets in the way for us is our judgmentalism. Is we say to ourselves, well, I would never be like that. I would never say those things. I would never be that person that's cruel, that's hurtful, it's insensitive, it's wrong, it's awful. I would never do that. Well, here's the thing. There are places and ways that you can move that energy to. It doesn't always have to be, fluffy bunnies and unicorns and, all the beautiful rainbows in the world. When you start to cultivate places and activities that let you feel these exact same emotions, but you aren't acting it out in your personal relationships, you aren't acting it out in your job like a lot of these toxic people are, you aren't taking it out on people who are vulnerable and don't see it coming. When you give yourself these places and these spaces to let yourself be that angry, insensitive, thoughtless, uncaring, horrible human being, when you give yourself permission to do those things and create safe, sacred spaces to do them, then you don't have to act them out in the other parts of your life, and you stay healthier too. This is why actually a lot of sports came about, because a lot of sports give a direction or a channel for those feelings of aggression. It's play. And when you recognize that, oh, this is play, this isn't real life, then it means that you have a place to act out your feelings too, and act out all the frustrations and hurts and angers and that you do. So let me give you some examples. Sports are one. When you realize that competition and that aggression and gotta beat them, it just stays on the field. When you do that, that's a place to move those energies. Maybe you go and you see theater. I just saw this great play, Enemy of the People, last weekend. And it was a very dark, with a lot of anger and people fighting and outrage and craziness and chaos. You know, there was all this stuff going on in the play. And because I was watching it, I was a part of it. I got to feel these things and express these things, even though all I did was sit in my seat. You know, and so did the people that were with me. It gave us an opportunity to express that outrage and that hurt and that frustration and that aggravation. You know, hey, Doug, in a way that wasn't hurting anybody else. It was a play. You know, it's the same thing with music. When I would get really aggravated or frustrated, probably about 15 years ago or so, I would listen to Kid Rock. Oh my gosh, how cathartic is that? You know, how cathartic is it for us to be able to listen to music, you know, that makes us feel these things, you know, that are dark and heavy and awful and icky, and move them through us in a way that's safe for everybody, in a way that doesn't destroy everything around us. You know, in the typical metaphysical, fluffy bunny, you know, spiritual guru sort of mindset, you're never supposed to have any negative emotions or any negative thoughts. You're supposed to banish them from your existence because they will attract this negativity and this awfulness into your life. In reality, human beings have such a wide variety of emotions, such a wide variety of things that they feel. And when we deny those, when we pretend they don't exist, that's what makes us sick. That's what turns into our addictions, into our eating disorders, or into our, you know, drug addictions or prescription medications or whatever it is. It's those feelings that are normal and natural and human that when we deny them turn into these other things. But when we acknowledge them, hey, Ro, when we acknowledge them, when we accept that they exist, and we find appropriate places and appropriate ways to let ourselves feel these things. Hey, Mariana, so that when we get to act them out in some way, music, you know, when you'd see me listening to Kid Rock, oh my gosh, my fist was in the air. I was like, yeah, it was crazy. You know, and then the song was done and I felt better. That's what music is supposed to do. It's a cathartic release. Or movies, or plays, or having a pretend fight with someone, or having a debate, or going onto the tennis court, or any of those things. It's where you're allowed to be a human being. You're allowed to act out and play with your emotions and not take them so seriously. And so then when you look at these other people, these toxic people who are insane, who don't deal with these emotions in a way that, you know, keeps their relationships alive and helps them keep their job and have friends, you know, these people, they're acting out how they feel. And just like when you're in a play and when you're doing your things, you realize that once you act it out, you'll feel better. And these people, once they act their things out, they'll feel better too. This is how they stay healthy, which is so totally crazy. They need a better channel for it. But in the meantime, they are acting out. And after they act out, they'll feel better. And you don't have to take any of their emotions terribly seriously. You can allow them to be present to how they feel and realize that they're making pretend, that they're playing with their feelings and they don't realize it. They're doing it in an inappropriate way, typically, you know, as an adolescent would, you know, because an adolescent, if they never learned the appropriate ways to deal with their feelings, then they act them out and they push them out onto everybody else. So they're kind of stuck in that adolescent stage. And when someone can come to you with all of that emotion that they need to, you know, purge from themselves and they want to put onto you, and you can look at them and say, wow, that's quite a drama. Almost like you were, you know, looking at a Shakespearean drama or a play or listening to, you know, that music that moves you, or watching a sword fight. You know, when you're able to do that and look at it just as a play, you are so much happier, because then you're not drawn into it. You're not drawn into what it means and why would they do this and how come this is happening. Hey, Stacy, great to see you. Why is this happening? And what's their deeper psychosis? And, how are they broken? And stop. Stop. You don't need to know. You'll never be able to figure it out. It's way too complex for your conscious mind to figure out. You will not know. So don't bother trying. Just recognize that they are acting out how they feel in the present moment to try to feel better. And you don't have to take it on. You don't have to figure it out. You can say, well, this is the play I want to watch, or this is a play I don't want to watch. And you don't worry about it or stress about it, because they'll be okay. They are adults with lots of resources available to them that they might not have had as a kid, but they're no longer a kid. They're a rational human being, an adult, just like you. And they've got all the same foods and all the same information and all the same, tools as you do. And so they will figure it out one way or another. And in the meantime, if they need to act out their emotions, they can do that. It doesn't have to be on you, or you can say, wow, this is really interesting, and let it be at that. So if you're surrounded by toxicity, and who isn't these days, then my biggest tool, my most advanced tool is play. Not only seeing that everybody else is just playing, of course, unless it's serious, like you do have cancer or you do have something like that. That's understandable. But for most of us, for most people, it's play. And when you recognize that and let them play and give yourself permission to play, to have all of those dark, horrible emotions. One more thing I wanted to add. Hey, Tara. So I went to this great workshop, I don't know, like 10, 12 years ago. And it was a weekend. And part of the weekend was the acting out of the darker times of your life and having witnesses and friends for that, people who could let you act it out. Play therapy and acting out your feelings is one of the most healing and cathartic things. You just need to be smart about it and find people who understand what you're doing and are supportive of it, like theater people, like musicians, like people who are in the arts. They understand this angst, and that it has to be moved. So when you let people know this is what you're doing, that this is your play, and you need to move these emotions, then they'll play with you. Maybe you have a fight about hats, something completely ridiculous, just so you can move the energy. Okay? So remember that play therapy for them and for you is super important. And it's actually what we're all doing. Just trying to, stay sane when we're feeling overwhelmed by all of the insanity of today's world. So that's my tip for today. And today is Friday, so I won't see you until Monday. So no matter where you're seeing this, Facebook or email or YouTube or wherever, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, love to hear what you're working on, what's important to you, and share some love, because that love helps feed me and keeps me, putting these out there and building this tribe. Hey, Cara, and building this tribe and this community of beautiful, amazing people. We're going to come together and we're going to get through, this life just fine, because we've got each other and we'll figure it out. Okay? So have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. All right? Bye.